Skald was always one of my favorite classes playing Dark Ages of Camelot, and it also was one that I always rolled in Baldur's Gate 2. But after patch 8, we have a great way to really tap into a lot of fun capabilities with the Swashbuckler. Combining this with the Sword Bard, we can recreate the Skald of old, which was actually been rolled into the Sword Bard in 5th edition. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos. So let's go through the leveling split of what this character looks like. You can do this one of two ways. If you simply want to go or get into the Swashbuckler quickly in a new playthrough, just take 4 levels of Rogue, followed by 8 levels of Sword Bard. This turns the new subclass on for you quickly in your playthrough and affords you a ton of fun. The route I recommend though is 6 levels of Sword Bard first. This gives us our weapon style and then extra attack right after getting into Act 2. Follow this up with 4 levels of Swashbuckler to unlock our spells, and close out with 2 more levels of Bard to have better Sword Bard abilities and a 3rd feat to choose from. You can mix the levels up in a way that better fits your playstyle, but this makes for a dual-wielding machine that falls in line with my vision for a Skald. But that's all you want to know, please feel free to shut the video down. As always, I want to be respectful of your time. You can jump to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline in the description. And before you head out, if you find the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Also, take a look at my Twitch linked in the comment and the description, where I will be streaming my new Pure Evil run using maybe not this build, but a lot of the other builds that I've been posting up lately. Let's get started on my new favorite Bard build in Baldur's Gate 3. Loading into character creation, let's talk about choosing your race for this class. Now, this is a single player narrative game, so please choose the race that best fits the narrative and the roleplay you have in mind for this character. Like for example here, Drow's my favorite one, so I'm going to recommend it as a race. Is it a good race? It absolutely is. It's the best in the game. I don't know why you choose anything else, but if you're so inclined, let's talk about some other options here. Just as a cool shout out here, the Tiefling, both Asmodeus and Mephistopheles, gets a handful of spells. Asmodeus is going to get access to Produce Flame, Hellish Rebuke, and Darkness. And then the Mephistopheles Tiefling is going to get access to Mage Hand, Burning Hands, and Flame Blade. We are going to have Charisma in this build, and all 6 of those spells across these 2 sub-races both access that Charisma. So this is going to be good for your Bard spells, your Rogue Rakish abilities, and these sub-race capabilities. So I definitely recommend Tiefling as an option. Halfling is great because it's going to give us access here to Lucky. When you roll for a 1, or when you roll a 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you get to re-roll the die. Always really good. Lightfoot and Strongheart are both really great options. Strongheart gives you advantage on saving throws against poison as well as resistance, versus Lightfoot giving you advantage on stealth. Half-Orc is always a great option for any kind of melee character, and this is a melee character with savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with a melee attack, you deal an extra weapon die of damage. Relentless Endurance, if you reach 0 hit points, you regain a 1 hit point instead of being downed, which is always great. Gith is always a really strong one here for Astral Knowledge. All of the Gith-centric items in the game, Gith is a really good one. If you've not yet played with a Gith, I strongly recommend it. They have a lot of really amazing narrative options, and again, really awesome items to take advantage of. And both the Deep Gnome and the Dwagar, the Underdark version, so we have the Deep Gnome here, is really, really good with his advantage on stealth checks, and the Dwagar Dwarf is just amazing here. Advantage on saving throws, but they also get invisibility, they get enlarge. They're a really, really good class, race all the way around. And outside of that, our class is going to start off with Bard. If you want to take the other route, you would start with a Rogue. It's entirely up to you, but we are going to go Bard. My build guide that you can follow in the description and the pinned comment uses Bard as the starting levels here. So for our cantrips, we have quite a lot to choose from. No, we don't. I don't know why I said that, but we've got some good ones to choose from. And we are going to choose from Vicious Mockery, and I like Blade Ward, but Mage Hand is also really good here. Friends is good if you're not playing on honor mode, because sometimes friends can trigger hostility. So just keep that in mind. So Friends is a really, really good one just to help out with, like, oh, I want the best prices possible at this vendor, stuff like that. Some good spells here, though, are definitely going to be Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I really like that one. Long Shredder on someone because it is a ritual spell, meaning that when you cast it, it does not cost a spell slot. We're not going to worry about spell slots on this character much, if at all. We're really a melee character. We're using the sword bard abilities to do most of our stuff. But I like Dissonant Whispers for some fun psychic damage as well as possibility to frighten. And Thunderwave is good since we are going to be up close and personal. Starting instrument is entirely your choice. Choose one that you like. As far as your background, as I always say, this is a single player narrative game, so choose a little bit of a role play for your character. Are you some form of former pirate, right? You're a criminal, and now you've made your way into the lands of the entertainer as a bard? Are you a bard that has become some sort of swashbuckler, and you're starting to go into a more nefarious line of pursuit of profession, whatever it is? Please choose a background that makes sense for your role play, because these backgrounds will give you inspirations, and inspirations will give you chances to smack your microphone in the middle of recording, but it will also give you a chance to re-roll big rolls that you might have missed. If you want a more of a min-max choice, I always like Guild Artisan, because it gives me insight as well as persuasion being a great skill because it is a conversational skill. And on that note too, we have plenty of skills to choose from because we are a bard. We can access everything. So choose, I would say, 1 or 2 conversational skills. It's nice to have like 2, like persuasion and deception, or persuasion and intimidation. There is a achievement that is linked to performance. If you have not gotten that achievement, I actually recommend picking up performance. And also think of this character. Do you want it to be the term skill monkey, meaning that it's got a bunch of skills that are useful for a lot of great things in the game? Then sleight of hand might be really good here, so you can use it to pick locks. And once we get rogue, we'll be able to put a specialization into this proficiency and become even better at it. So if this is your primary rogue character, definitely go ahead and pick up sleight of hand so you can pick locks and disarm traps. Stealth if you wish to go about that route as well. So I'm just going to go with something like this because it looks kind of fun and cool for the roleplay I have in mind. Let's now go into abilities. So for this character, we're going to be dual wielding. We're going to be using charisma for both our rogue abilities and our bard abilities. And then we're going to be using finesse weapons. So we're going to be pretty much stacked with dexterity, charisma, and constitution in that order. So let's put a bunch of points here into dexterity and put the +2 to bring it to 17. We're going to put points here now into charisma to 15 and put the +1, so it makes it 16. Lastly, we're going to put our points right here into constitution to get it to 14. Now with these final 2 points, you can put them into strength if for some reason you want increased carry capacity. I say some reason like it doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. Having this be your main character, your face character as it were, this is the character you're probably going to be picking up every little thing that you find, and having to displace all the things you pick up over time just can get kind of annoying. So I actually like having higher strength. It's not going to help our character in any way other than a quality of life thing when it comes to looting stuff. But if you want to think of something that's actually directly going to help the character when it comes to combat, wisdom helps here because it allows you to resist any kind of charm effect or crowd control effect, which is typically a wisdom save. So this gives us a good amount of hit points. Dexterity is going to be our primary attack attribute. It's going to give us +3 to initiative as well. And charisma is going to help us out with all of the casting this character is going to do. So leveling this character is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty easy here. We're going to take our level into Bard. That's going to give us Jack of all trades. Your vast experience makes you more likely to succeed in any undertaking, adding half of your proficiency bonus to ability checks that you are not proficient in, which is an awesome ability. Also, especially for the face character, Song of Rest basically gets you an additional short rest. So just even in level 2, we get a ton more utility into the build. I'm going to go Speak with Animals for my spell because I like having at least one cast of that in my entire party so that I can use conversational skills on animals. Into Bard level 3, we're going to choose our new subclass, and that is going to be the Sword Bard, the College of Swords. What this is going to get us is all of these that have a little sword next to them. And you can use them as a ranged ability if you want. But Melee Flourish is going to allow us to push something and then teleport. The Defensive Flourish is going to give us a free 4 AC, and then Slashing Flourish is going to attack up to 2 enemies. Each one of these is going to do our weapon damage plus 1d6 at this current stage. Once we get to Bard level 5, I want to say, that becomes 1d8. We'll see. We'll see. I'll show you. But another spell here, we get our level 2 spells. There's quite a lot of cool ones. Although Hold Person is good, you'd probably want to put it on a character that's not going to be up close and personal the entire time, which this character I do intend to be that way. But even like I said, though, Heat metal is still good because I'm just trying to do damage with the concentration here, not trying to lock something down. So this is a cool one. I like Phantasmal Force, another concentration one, as well as Enthrall. Enthrall is not a concentration one, so it's pretty cool. Reduce the creature's peripheral vision and make it look at you. It's just a way to kind of focus things. Another cool one is Cloud of Daggers, but it is a concentration ability. You have plenty to choose from, so I'm just going to choose Heat Metal because I haven't chosen it in a video in a long time. Now, our fighting style is 2-weapon fighting. When you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you add your ability modifier to the damage of the attack. That is crucial here because I'm going with dual wielding for this build. You can see we have everything set here. We have now more skill proficiencies. So we're just going to stick with performance and persuasion. And remember, every time you level up as a bard, you can choose a new bard level. So we'll take this and we'll go into level 4. And through level 4, we get another cantrip. I'll go with Blade Ward this time. I'll go with Mage Hand. And then spells, we'll just choose another one. I'm just going to choose one. And just please, as always, choose the spells that make sense for your party. What other players in your party are there? What other spells do they have? How can you choose spells that complement them? But now let's have a conversation about choosing our feat. So when it comes to our feat, what we're going to focus on are ability improvement and a number of other ones. So ability improvement here is going to bring us up to 19 total dexterity. We'll hopefully be able to use the Hag's Hair to get us to 20, or a number of other methods through, you know, other things that I don't want to say. So that's the biggest thing that you're going to want to do. And I definitely recommend you do this because dexterity is our primary form of damage since we are going to be playing as a melee character. Now, since we did choose dual wielding to begin with, we do not need to actually choose dual wielder. We're going to be a finesse build. And that means that the majority of our weapons already have light. You can use 2-weapon fighting even if your weapons aren't light, and you gain a +1 bonus to AC while wielding a melee weapon in each hand. So if you really need that AC, then please, by all means, do this. If you have the intention of using a lot of long swords, which are not going to be light, then do this. This is meant for characters that are more on the strength spectrum, that want to use weapons that are not light, which most of the, if not all of the finesse weapons in the game have the light distinction. So we don't need to worry about this. I'm just bringing this up because we are not going to choose it. Our other feat that we're going to go with is Savage Attacker. When making melee weapons attacks, you roll your damage dice twice and use the highest result. And then our third feat is going to be Defensive Duelist. When attacked while wielding a finesse weapon you're proficient with, you can use a reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your armor class, possibly causing the attack to miss. This gives us a way to turn our reaction into something that benefits us. Otherwise, we have to get a reaction benefit from some form of item in the game. So this is the way that we're going to take advantage of all those things. Now, other things you can go with are Lucky to get all the rerolls here, which is really cool. Mobile's good, but it's already hard baked into Swashbuckler. So this one isn't as compulsory. We're already pretty much going to have this second portion, but not that first portion. Now, another one you can take is Actor. This increases our charisma by 1. So it's not the charisma thing that I'm talking about here. It's the proficiency bonus is doubled for deception and performance checks. I don't really think you need to take this if you're pursuing the achievement. I wanted to bring it up if you are trying to get the achievement that I think is collect 200 gold from NPCs while using the performance skill in the game. So if you wanted to, it's here. Just wanted to bring it up, but you don't necessarily need to use it at all. So those are our big focus ones. We're going to be using ability improvement. We're going to be using Savage Attacker. And we're then going to use Defensive Duelist, all in that order. Jumping into level 5 for our Bard, let's take a look at what happens here. We get Font of Inspiration. So now our Bardic Inspirations replenish on a short and a long rest. And then improved Bardic Inspirations, the bonus gain for Bardic Inspirations is increased to 1d8. So you use your Bardic Inspirations as a sword bard to do all of your capabilities. So remember it was 1d6 before? Now it is 1d8 at level 5. See, I'm so smart. I remembered that earlier, didn't I? But now we get our level 3 spells. I like Glyph of Warding. It's a really good damage ability. Doesn't require concentration, anything like that, and it's awesome. Another good one too is Plant Growth. It reduces the movement speed of things significantly. Look at this. Creatures moving through the weeds have their movement speed quartered. So it does not require concentration. They're two really good capabilities that you can use to really amp up things, or at least get stuff in a better position so you can do damage to them. So we'll take that. We'll accept one more level of Bard before we switch over to Rogue. But this 6th level gets us 2 really good things. One is Counter Charm. You and your abilities, your allies within 30 feet have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened for 3 turns. And you get your extra attack. So that is a great little deity to have online. You would choose the kind of, another good one here is Blind, by the way. I never really talk about this one, but blindness is a pretty good one. It's just a constitution save, so you got to be wary about it actually going off against your lower charisma. It's kind of why I like plant growth, because you don't have to worry about a save. They go on it, they're slowed down. So we'll take that, we'll accept this, and then we'll go into our 7th character level, which pushes us now into Rogue. And with that, we now can choose some proficiencies and some expertise. So remember I was talking about, hey, if you want to get that performance expertise, you can do it here. Like maybe you're not going stealth with this character, which maybe you don't really want to. You can go ahead and put it into that location. Oh, actually you can't. Yes, I thought you could. Well, I guess you cannot. I thought you could put it to anything you already have an established proficiency in, but I suppose I'm wrong. But then you can, either way, you can add a further proficiency into any of these to get more points added in. So sleight of hand now you can see is at a plus 10. I might be thinking of the BARD version of this. So we'll go ahead and accept that. Brings us to level 2, where we will now going to get all of our cunning actions of hide, dash, and disengage for our bonus actions. Take this into level 3, where we now choose Swashbuckler. And that's going to give us our rakish audacity. You gain +2 bonus to your initiative rolls. This scales with your rogue level. You no longer need advantage to trigger sneak attack, which is the biggest benefit of this. This allows us to stay in close combat and use our sneak attacks on the character. It's a lot of fun. As long as you are within 5 feet of the target and don't have disadvantage. So that's the caveat there, right? Fancy footwork. If you make a melee attack against a target, that target can't make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of your turn. This is the same thing as the second portion of the mobile feat. So we attack someone and we can just move around and go attack something else. It's a really good portion of Swashbuckler. And then to level 4 here, we take our second feat. We're going to go with Savage Attacker, because now we're really going to be up close and personal doing tons of damage, and this just amps up our damage. But at level 4, we now get our 4 Swashbuckler actions. This first one here is important. Flick of the wrist is a weapon attack. It says weapon actions right there. Flick your weapon at a target and possibly disarm them. Get an advantage on your next attack. This is going to be using your dexterity modifier to do the attack. The next 2 things we talk about, use your charisma. So this first one here is Dirty Trick, Vicious Mockery. So it's basically Vicious Mockery. Insult the creature, has disadvantage on its next attack roll. Gain advantage on your next attack. So you get that as an actual built-in cantrip, which you will have too as a bard, but this won't use a cantrip. This won't use a primary action to cast. It uses a bonus action. That's the biggest benefit of it, and it will pull off your charisma. Lastly, we have Dirty Trick, Sand Toss. Toss a handful of sand at your enemy and possibly blind them. Gain advantage on your next attack. Again, a bonus action. Again, over here, a bonus action. It's why if you were to take 4 levels of Rogue first, it doesn't really hurt you not getting access to extra attack, because you use all these actions as bonus actions, and Dirty Trick, Flick of the Wrist being an actual weapon attack is nice because it allows you to basically do 2 weapon attacks in a turn. So you've got that all set. We take this, we move into our final 2 levels of BARD now, switching back gears over here. We get our level 4 spell. Confusion's really, really good. It is a CC ability, but Dimension Door might fit this character a little bit better just for the actual mobility that it builds in. Greater Invisibility is also really amazing. It just is a concentration spell. And Freedom of Movement is also very good too, because this lasts until a long rest. It just is going to cost you your level 4 movement slot. But like I said, our spell slots are not where we're going to be doing the majority of stuff with this character. And our last level of level 8 doesn't get us any bard stuff, but we do get another little level 4 ditty we can do. I'll do Dimension Door. And our feat here is going to be now Defensive Duelist. So now we have a fun reaction you can use to increase your armor class by your proficiency bonus. So we've gone over all this stuff. Let's talk about our itemization as well as some other things. So before we jump into all the items that I do have, we have to talk about the items I do not have. And this is, you're going to find this link in the description below. Like I said, you can use this character as a melee character or as a range character. So I've put into this so you can see it, Hellfire Hand Crossbow and the Never Misser. I have the Hellfire Bow. I don't think I have the Never Misser, but it's up to you. If you want to use this as a range character, you're more than welcome to. I wanted to show you that it was an option, and I figured this is the best time to do it. But we're going to be focusing on using melee. The 3 things I don't have are the 3 jewelry items, unfortunately. The first one here being Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet. When scoring a critical hit on a humanoid, the wearer can paralyze the target for 2 turns. You would get this in the middle point of Act 2 when you're dealing with, I'll just say, all of the brothers. If you have never played the game, I don't want to spoil it for you. You'll see what I mean. It's the one that's a surgeon. Over here, we have the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. So a lot of spells as a bard are illusion or enchantment spells. After hitting a creature with a weapon attack, you can cast illusion or enchantment spells as a bonus action. So this isn't like a piece of the puzzle that makes the class strong, but what I think makes this class really strong is the flexibility between your primary actions and your bonus actions. This further increases that flexibility by making it so that when we do a weapon attack, we now can just use our bonus action to cast spells. Just like we can use our bonus action to do all of our Swashbuckler stuff, or we can use our bonus action to do all of our Sword Bard stuff. So there's just a lot of flexibility across the actions, and I wanted this to further increase that flexibility. You get this at the very beginning of Act 3 from the genie when you go to its special land. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you will when you get there. Ring of Arcane Synergy, you get in Act 1, and it is really, really, really good for this build. When you deal damage with a cantrip, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. So remember your Rakish Audacity. That is a cantrip. So even if you were decided to go with Bard for first, Rogue for first, you can still use Ring of Arcane Synergy. And even if you went Bard first, you have Vicious Mockery as a cantrip, and it's a really good cantrip. The way Arcane Synergy works is it's different than Arcane Acuity. Arcane Acuity helps with casting spells. Arcane Synergy is a flat damage bonus to all of your weapon attacks. It will add your spellcasting modifier, which in this case is going to be a +3 to all weapon attacks. It's great. And it doesn't degrade every turn. Well, it lasts for 2 turns, but the what's it called? The penetration, the magnitude of it doesn't decrease per turn. It's always going to be that +3. So it's a great ability. You use a cantrip, you've got this damage bonus. And remember, now we can use those cantrips here. You can cast illusion or enchantment spells as a bonus action. So you can use this as a bonus action too, but you have to do the weapon attack first. So you can just set up a next turn or stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways that you can bounce around this. One other item I don't have is the Ballist Armor. I don't like to focus on it because it requires a certain requires a certain path to play, which I guess a lot of items do, like the Potent Robe, but still. This is good for the build because enemies within 6.5 feet of you become vulnerable to piercing damage unless they are resistant or immune to it, and you gain a +2 bonus to initiative rolls. It just requires you to get like damn near the end of Act 3 to get this. So it's going to be towards the end of your playthrough. So those are some items that I do not have. Let's talk about some items that I do have. And one actual weapon I did forget to talk about too is the Knife of the Undermountain King, which you will get in Act 1 in the Crash. Reduce the number you need to roll a critical hit by 1, and you have advantage on attack rolls against lightly or heavily obscure targets when using this blade. You'll pretty much use this the entirety of the playthrough because it's just that good of a main or offhand weapon. It's light, it's finesse, it fits so well with this build. So before we get into itemization and everything, just one quick thing I want to talk about is the way that sneak attack works. I'm going to hover over this right here, and you can see Rakish sneak attack +2d6 piercing. In the intro, I talked about different ways to mix up the leveling mechanics you've got here. And we've got 8-4. You could do 7-5, 7 Bard, 5 Rogue. You do lose out on a feat, but that's okay. That feat you lose out on would just simply be Defensive Duelist. But what this would do is it would give you 1 additional d6 of damage into your sneak attack. Remember, Rogue's sneak attack does more damage every odd number of rogue levels you've got. So if you do want to play around with some of the leveling splits on this, by all means do so. I think level 6 Bard is pretty compulsory because Rogue does not get access to a extra attack, and going to an even number of rogue levels isn't so huge because you don't get anything at that 6th level. Just you would get actually no, you don't even get another feat. Rogues get a 3rd feat, well, an additional feat they do 4, 8, 10, and 12, whereas everyone else is 4, 8, and 12, except for the warrior, which is 4, 6, and 12. 4, 6, 8, and 12, sorry. So it's just worth noting that. I just want to talk about that very quickly because sneak attack is a big portion of this build. It's just how we're going to take advantage of it. So when it comes to our weapons, let's talk about stuff. If you're leveling up through the game, just pretty much use any dagger or scimitar you find. You actually can get access to the +1 scimitar, the singing scimitar. It's in here somewhere, and I tried to find it before the video, and it's like, look at this treasure trove I have over here. It's a good scimitar to use in the very beginning of the game, and you get access to it right around where the knolls are. I just kept trying to find it again. I can't find it. But it does play into being a bard, so it is nice to use that one. But either way, scimitars, short swords, daggers in the very beginning, it's going to be pretty crucial. You can use Falar Aluve. Just keep in mind it is not a light weapon. So you'd want to use it in your primary hand and a light weapon in your offhand. In Act 2, you're going to get Sword of Life Stealing, which is very good. On a critical hit, the target takes an extra 10 necrotic damage as long as it isn't a construct or an undead, and you gain 10 temp hit points. Always really great. But then as you crest into later portions of the game, you'll get access to the Stillmaker, which is really good. As free cast to hold person. I really like Dolor Amoris. When you land a critical hit with a weapon or unarmed attack, it deals an additional 7 weapon damage. It's very good and it has a +2 enchantment on it. But some other cool ones too are going to be Belm, because it's, again, a scimitar, my favorite weapons in the game. And this also gets perfectly balanced strike, which is to use a bonus action to do another attack. So it just gives you lots of attacks built into this weapon. The 2 primary ones I recommend, though, are Bloodthirst and Mischief, Crimson Mischief. Now, depending on which one is in the main hand, you will get different capabilities. This is the configuration I recommend, because Bloodthirst here, the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. That's a default. But then main hand, creatures hit with this weapon receive vulnerability to piercing damage, which is crucial, because when we take a look at the Crimson Mischief, it is a piercing weapon as well. And when it's used, its base default thing here is this weapon deals an additional 1 to 4 pierce damage against targets with 50% or lower health. And with offhand, when you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the attack. So it just further amps up our damage here. We can take advantage of some really fun things. And I really like this combination. It's really, really strong and really potent. I'd love to use like 2 really cool long swords. The only other finesse longsword in the game is in the Kresh in the Act 1. It's also a good longsword, but I just think that you can probably jump into stuff better with the light weapons over having to not necessarily waste a feat, but go hard in the paint on a feat. And for our ranged weapon, we're using the Deadshot because it helps in our critical hits by 1, regardless of it being in melee or in ranged. Moving through the rest of the build while I perform on a loot is our armor. So for our headpiece, I'm using the Gibbous of the Worshipful Servant. There are probably a million different ways you can go about this. We are a sword bard, right? So we're going to get access to heavy armor. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. And the reason I'm using this is because I almost never use it. And I actually think it's quite good for Bard, because Bard has tons of concentration abilities. At the start of combat, the wearer gains momentum equal to their charisma modifier. And momentum here is plus 5 feet of movement per turn remaining. So this is going to give us 15 extra feet of movement. It's really nice. You open up combat, you already get the benefit of having increased initiative on your character. So you're probably, and also really high dexterity. So it's going to be easy for you to really go first, really move fast, really move far, do some fun damage. And it's a cool hat. There's not really like lots of cool hats, and I'm a bard, so I want to wear a damn hat. Speaking of hats, at Act 1, you get the Cap of Curing. When you inspire an ally using Bardic Inspiration, they also regain 1 to 6 hit points. You'll use it. It's fun. I like it a lot. But in Act 2, there's the Flawed Helldusk Helmet. Wielder has a +2 bonus to saving throws against spells. You can use the Helm of Baldur. You can use Saravok's Horn Helmet to further stack critical hits if you want, which I've kind of like semi-done in this build, but I didn't want it to be the largest driving force. You can definitely do it, but I don't want to cramp it up for you. You can't be frightened as well, which is really cool, and you have Dark Vision, which is always really fancy, and a Constitution saving throw, which will help with our concentration rolls. Into our chest piece here, we'll start off with the Blazer of Benevolence. When you inspire an ally using Bardic Inspiration, you gain 4 temp hit points. You'd use these two in conjunction, right? And there's boots we'll talk about in a second. But as you level up, just use fun medium or light armors that you like. Hide armor is good. Leather armor is good. Eventually you'll get stuff like studded leather armor, which gives you bonuses to initiative. Hide armor does as well. Getting the adamantine scale mail in the end of Act 1 is very good too. I mean, this will last you almost the entirety of the playthrough until you get into Act 3, and it looks really cool. I think this is like the Drake General die. But you can land on the Armor of Agility, which is going to allow you to add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class. Additionally, this armor does not impose disadvantage on stealth, ability checks, and saving throws +2. So my AC right now is 20. With this, it goes to 23. So you can see if you want to take more of a tanky route, this is it. If you want to be more of like the heavy hitting Skald type of bard, because I think Doctors of Camelot was wearing chainmail, this would be it. I'm using right now the elegant studded leather armor. It looked very thematic for the build, but it gives a +2 bonus to initiative. So that's a +4 bonus to our initiative, plus my current dex, which gives me a plus whatever to my initiative, right? So we're through the roof on our initiative bonuses. So we're probably going to go first, and then we're going to move very far with our gibbous here. So that's why I just kind of wombo comboed those together. Into our glove selection, the Wondrous gloves are great. Your armor class is increased by 1. In addition, if you have Bardic Inspiration, you gain 1 more use of it. Remember, Bardic Inspiration is how we use all of our sword bard capabilities. So it's very viable. You find it very early in the game, and it will last you through the entirety of the game in this build. But some other cool ones, though. Flawed Helldusk for some additional fire damage. The Gloves of Battle Mage's power to give you Arcane Acuity whenever you cast a spell or cantrip that uses a weapon. Not going to be as big for this class, but it's there. Legacy of the Masters, gain a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls with weapons. It's just a flat damage bonus. And then the Helldusk gloves give you +1 spell save DC and 1 to 6 fire damage. They're just upgraded versions of these. I just kind of think these fit overall better because it's more uses of our flourishes. Into our boot selection, I don't think a lot of builds talk about the Helldusk boots, but I liked it. I like them a lot. You can't be forcibly moved. You ignore difficult terrain. When you fail a saving throw, you may use your reaction to it succeeded instead. And Hellcrawler, I don't know what I pressed. Oh, press short rest. Hellcrawler, teleport to an area and deal 2 to 16 fire damage when you land. The impact blast spreads in a 10-foot zone. It's basically a destructive Misty Step. Helldusk boots, you do get in Act 3, but they're really cool boots that I think are really cool to give this character some mobility and damage at the same time. But other ones across the way, and Boots of Striding to give us more momentum when we're concentrating. Using these two in conjunction helps so much, right? Like at the start of the combat, the wearer gains the momentum. Then this gives you momentum if you're concentrating. So lots of cool stuff. The Disintegrating Night Stalkers, a fan favorite for some Misty Step. The Boots of Speed, the Boots of Brilliance, which restore your Bardic Inspirations. This is a great one, but they fix it with patch 8. So you can't just put them on, restore, and then take them off. You have to put them on, restore, use your Bardic Inspirations, and then take them off if you want to do that. But when you get access to them, they would be your primary boot because you get them in end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2, I believe. Then Act 3 boots, Boosted Persistence, are very good for gaining freedom of movement and Long Strider. Into our necklaces, we talked about the important one that I really recommend. Ignore the one that's on me because I forgot about that. But another good one is the Amulet of Greater Health for Constitution. If you don't have a character that's already going to use it, just gives us, you have 135 Constitution with that bad boy on. Otherwise, we have 87. You can see it's really good for just making the character a lot tankier. Other items are Moondrop Pendant in Act 1. When the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. Amulet of the Harper for advantage on wisdom saving throws, but it's just a free cast of shield. And then the Amulet of Misty Step. You could use a Necklace of Augmentation if you so wish. There's lots of really cool necklaces, but I think the one that we talked about, Subjugation, kind of plays into a lot of the critical hits we've built into the character. Now, aside from the 2 rings we talked about earlier, there is the Killer's Sweetheart. So when you kill a creature, your next roll will be a critical hit if you so wish. Ring of Regeneration is always good for just free heals. Ring of Free Action. This is going to basically give you what a half of this does, right? You can ignore difficult terrain. It's the same thing here and cannot be paralyzed or restrained. Crusher's Ring in Act 1 for 10 feet movement. Ring of Mental Inhibition to help give you some benefits when a foe fails a saving throw. So you've got that. They get mental fatigue, which means they have a -1 penalty to wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws. Lastly, for our cloak, I really like the Cloak of Displacement because it's a free cast of blur onto the character. It's awesome. Also kind of, I feel fits. Cloak of Protection is also a really good one. I wish there was like a Bard cloak, but there really isn't. It'd be cool if it was all like fancy looking. But I think that this overall look feel for this gear, I think plays all very well together for what we have in mind. So jumping into combat here, we have clearly gone first. We rolled very well for our initiative. Just keep in mind too that you have plenty of your sneak attacks. Make sure you have them, not sneak attacks, you have plenty of reactions. Make sure you have them set to ask you, right? Because you really want to be able to use them and not just have them go off because maybe you want to say particularly, hey, I want to do one over the other. Just remember that if it has this little button right there, it's going to use a reaction. So the sneak attacks do not use those reactions. Just wanted to show that real quickly. Another thing too, you know, I didn't talk about it, but you can go duelist prerogative and just go with one weapon if you want. I just really wanted to dual wield. Haven't done a dual wield build in a good amount of time. So let's have a little bit of fun. I've gone ahead and quaffed a haste potion, so that's going to give us 2 up armor class, but it's also just going to give us 1 more action to show off some fun things. And in addition to that, we are using an elixir of viciousness. So across all of our gear, we're going to critical hit on a 17 or higher, which is very good. So we have all of our actions here that we can go with, plenty of stuff to take advantage of. Let's see what we can do. If you've never seen any of these flourishes, let me show you mobile flourish. This one's pretty cool. This is going to launch this guy. Oh, it's also going to do a critical hit. So we did a critical hit on him doing 27 damage. And then we have our ability here that we can teleport to him. It doesn't use a bonus action or anything. We can teleport to the target you hit with your mobile flourish, melee or ranged, moves you 30 feet. But we can still have a little bit more fun if we so wish. We got an extra attack out of that, right? Because we have extra attack. And you can use your flourishes for those extra attacks. So let's come over here really quick. I don't know if we'll be able to do it. I don't know if this range is going to be too dicey. Slashing flourish. Perfect. We got it. So we'll be able to do this. 23 hit, 14 hit. There we go. Bingo, bango, bongo. Hit both of them just like that. And we still have plenty to do. So we have our bonus action that we can use to do Vicious Mockery, to use Flick of the Wrist, and I'm going to show you that one real quick, and we can do Sand Toss. So let's go ahead and go with like Flick of the Wrist here. You can see that's a 70%, 70%, and 65%. Remember I was saying how some of them have different saves? Let's go Flick of the Wrist. That, unfortunately, it missed, but that was our bonus action. So we still have a whole nother action to do stuff with. I can go ahead and drop down plant growth here to slow everything. So let's just go ahead and do that just because it might be, well, maybe I want to show more damage. We'll show more damage. It's great. But that's an example though of something that you could have done to help slow things down. But we now can still do this sneak attack. There we go. There, I had disadvantage because I was next to that character. Boom, we can do hit like that. Unfortunately, we didn't crit, so we're gonna, oh, we can't do it again, damn it. I thought we could do it twice back to back. But we're instead just gonna do the last one, which is Defensive Flourish. I have like a 17 up to do critical hits, and I just did not, it did not pull off like I wanted it to. Now, what I want you to keep in mind with too is that we did not use our offhand. You see this little button right here? When you click it, it shuts off using that offhand. Otherwise, we would have used that offhand and used these abilities. I deliberately didn't do that just to show you what that's like. Let me reload real quick and show you some offhand stuff. But before I do, let me do this. We use that mobile flourish to teleport back to this target, which we could have then done more damage for us. But let me reload this really fast. So again, we're at the top of that fight just to really jump into some stuff here. Also, something I forgot to mention, we have momentum 3 and I'm a wood elf. So my total movement here is 80 feet. I can go all the way over there. Oh, right there, right? So we have tons of movement, and I could use Dimension Door or any of Misty Step capability to do that. But let me just go ahead here and remember how this works, right? So attacking creatures hit with this weapon receive vulnerability to piercing, and this weapon deals an additional to things that are below. So let me just go over here really quick just to show you what the damage capability is like on this. If you click this button, like I said, it will turn on the ability to just use both an attack and a bonus action attack at the same time. So let me do this because the main hand on this is not high. Well, in this case, we'll do a crap ton of damage with a rakish sneak attack that I forgot to turn off of the critical hit thing on. So we did a lot of damage there, right? This character's below 50% health now. We're going to use our bonus action to do a damage here and miss and completely miss and completely miss, negating all the cool things of that section. You're damn right I reloaded it to try to get this to show off. But doing this bonus attack, boom, you can see how much more damage that bad boy does at 26 plus the 8 necrotic damage that it has built into it. So a lot of really fun things can come with this build. You have access to a lot of really good bonus actions, a lot of really good primary actions. You have a bunch of fun flourishes to take advantage of. You have all these cool dirty tricks that you can do. You have fun spells. You can be range, you can be melee, you can go stealth, you can go not stealth. It's really a good example of how Bard is truly a jack of all trades. And this gives you access to so much stuff. If I were to actually stay in combat here with the displacement of my cloak and this defensive duelist, I would be able to maintain quite a bit here. If I just did this real fast, I have 26 AC. 26 AC, we'll just say 24 AC if I didn't have the potion of speed on. Most of the heavy armor classes that I show you guys don't have that much AC. So you can see that we can do a lot of really cool stuff with this build and still be very tanky, very fun, and accessible to a lot of different things. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if you would approach this build in different ways, or maybe there's some items that I forgot to talk about. Go ahead and let it be known below as always. Thank you so much for watching here today, guys. Have a good one and take care.